Hello friends, I'm going to talk today about something very common and profound, but which we can take advantage of if we learn the techniques to improve our sleep. Opinion article. Dreaming is a trip. You are in another dimension. You experience another reality. Sometimes it's not good to remember it, but it's good to write it down to interpret it. Avoid induced nightmares. Toxic fear is used for manipulation. Meditation produces lucid dream. It is situated between wakefulness and deep sleep. Nidra Yoga is the practice of lucid dream. It was expounded by Satiananda Saraswati, a disciple of Sivananda. We can experience it when we separate ourselves from the mind. Fear is not the opposite of love, but only its absence. An informed person is very difficult to control with fear. Let's start. The dream is a temporary trip to another dimension because we experience the so-called mirror dimension that is talked about in the movie Doctor Strange, which would be a reflection of the three-dimensional world, but it wouldn't be exactly the same. It has less density. Some call it the fourth dimension, in which disembodied people would also live permanently. People call it the other neighborhood. According to that movie, the mirror dimension would be a parallel dimension within the multiverse that would allow the user to practice their magical abilities and fight their enemies without the public's knowledge. Skilled spellcasters can fold things and distort space. Those who use the power of the dark dimension would have greater control over the mirror dimension to the point of being able to fold and wrap space. But let's not talk about the bad guys, because there are plenty of them in the world, and there are plenty of sorcerers' apprentices. Almost everyone believes that dreaming would be a fantasy, and the waking state would be the only reality. But I believe that life is a dream, and dreams are dreams, as Calderón de la Barca said, and that both states would be illusory and deceptive. What it is all about is having nice dreams instead of nightmares, as long as we do not wake up from the dream through enlightenment. Nightmares? No thanks. We have enough to live in this tormented world. Message. When you appear to be sleeping more than usual, often you are not really sleeping, but you are in a semi-conscious three-dimensional state while working or experiencing in another dimension. According to a message Untitled Dream State Experience, signed by Beth Stormont, supposedly from Sitara of Galactic Fleet Command. In her view, it's not necessary to remember these dreams, as is often desired with normal three-dimensional dreams, because these are not prophetic or informative dreams that you need to note or remember. You may be very aware of it while you are in the process of such a state, but you are often blocked for remembering it when you return to 3D consciousness. The reason you are allowed to be aware of the information while dreaming is so that your physical self can literally anchor it to the earth plane, like a lightning rod can do it with a lightning bolt. You are blocked for remembering it for several reasons, one of which is that such knowledge could change the course of events related to the dream or cause problems. Another reason is that there are physics who could tap into your mind to obtain that information and use it in a way that would be disadvantageous to the good of your purpose. In addition, there are many disincarnate souls living on the astral plane who often act as spirit guides for humans who have chosen to receive them as their guide. Without proper discernment, this can be a very wrong and dangerous choice for both the human being and all of humanity. Yes, some are loving and beneficial guides, but others can be quite the opposite. For this reason alone, awareness of the dream state of the other dimensions should be carefully guarded. Anyway, I think it's good to have a notebook on the night table to write down dreams before they are forgotten, and to have a good dream dictionary to try to interpret messages we receive from the other world or from our own unconscious, and that such interpretation help us to better understand everyday life in the waking state. Definition. A dream is a set of events or images that are represented in someone's consciousness while sleeping, and the act of dreaming is to represent images or events in one's mind while sleeping. The word dream, from the Latin somnus, designates both the act of sleeping and the activity of the mind during the period of rest. It is a natural function of the human body and one of the most important. In the adult, nocturnal sleep of about 8 hours is organized in 4 or 5 cycles of about 90 to 120 minutes, during which one passes from wakefulness to drowsiness, from there to light sleep, from there to slow or deep sleep, and finally to more sleep. Its normal distribution in a healthy adult is as follows: phase 1, 5%, phase 2, 50%, phase 3, 20%, and phase 4 more, 25%. During deep sleep, there is physical restoration, and during more sleep, the restoration of cognitive function, i.e., the process of learning, memory, and concentration. Sleep represents a vital function, and it's essential restorative because sleep repairs the body every day, complementary and fundamental to ensure wakefulness, since one sleeps in order to feel awake in the next day, and it is physiologically necessary. During the sleep state, the lymphatic system, equivalent to the lymphatic system to the rest of the body, is activated 10 times more compared to the working state, allowing waste from the brain cells to be eliminated more effectively. During sleeps, there would be a contraction of brain cells, thus creating more space between them and allowing the cerebrospinal fluid to circulate more easily throughout the brain tissue, thus clearing more freely the debris such as the beta amyloid protein responsible for Alzheimer's disease. In addition, the body during sleep enters into anabolic state, which serves to develop various repair functions in our organism. Sleeping on your side and in the fetal position, compared to sleeping on your back or stomach, can be more effectively eliminate brain waste during sleep, and may be an important practice to help reduce the chances of developing Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and other neurological diseases, according to researchers at Stony Brook University. Animals too. The act of dreaming has only been confirmed in human beings, but some animals also go through the more phase of sleep, although it is difficult to determine their subjective experience. It seems that mammals are the animals most likely to dream due to their human-like sleep cycle. At the top of the statistics in terms of sleep is the cat, which spent 70% of its life sleeping, and as it ages, its waking stage ostensibly decreases. Horses, ducks, and sheep can sleep standing up or lying down. However, they cannot experience REM sleep while standing. The animal that spends the most time in REM sleep is the armadillo. Whales and dolphins are different from other mammals. They always have to be conscious as they need to surface to breathe. Only part of their brain sleeps at time. Lucid sleep. A lucid sleep is a dream that is characterized by the dreamer being aware of dreaming. It may occur spontaneously or be induced by practice and exercise. The use of the adjective lucid as a synonym for conscious was introduced in 1867 by the French writer, sinologist, and dream specialist Léon d'Hervé de Saint-Denis in his work Dreams and How to Control Them. Most lucid dreams happen in the stage of paradoxical dreaming and through a fortuitous or triggered process with learning. The awareness of dreaming gives the dreamer the ability to deliberately control not only his or her actions, but also the content and development of dreams. The ability to recognize and control dream states is mentioned in the Buddhist text from the 7th century. In the West, the phenomenon has been studied in laboratory conditions since the late 1970s. The yoga of dreaming. Nidra Yoga is the dream state one falls into during meditation. According to the writer Anandamurti Guruma, Nidra Yoga is a state of consciousness that lies between wakefulness and deep sleep. It is a state in which the body remains relaxed and the mind is aware of the inner world. Nidra Yoga is also known as lucid dreaming. One of the greatest exponents was Swami Satiananda Saraswati, when he lived with his guru Swami Sivananda in the city of Rishikesh, India. The concept of Nidra Yoga comes from an unrelated concept, which is the yogic sleep of the god Vishnu. The practice of Nidra Yoga was a series of steps through which the practitioner goes deeper and deeper within. After having worked on physical and mental relaxation, the practitioner is ready to move onto another level, which consists of settling into the inner observer and from there observing his or her inner space. Those who have already practiced Nidra Yoga know that this moment comes when the instructors ask them to notice the space before their closed eyes, a space in which they try to see as far as possible inside. Obviously, it's not a physical space, but a physical one, which is known as a mental screen, and it is there on that screen that the path to the inner self opens up. The technique of Nidra Yoga is fascinating and complete, acting at all levels, physiological and vital, and familiarizing its practitioner with unusual and unknown mental states that can then be used in their personal development. What is the fourth dimension? The term fourth dimension appears in various contexts such as physics, mathematics, spirituality, and science fiction. The meaning is different in each context. In physics, the fourth dimension is referred to when working about time mainly from the space-time approach in theory of relativity. In mathematics, the concept is associated either with Euclidean spaces of more than 3 dimensions, or more generally with locally Euclidean spaces or 4 distinct varieties. In esoteric teachings, reference is made to other worlds or universes. The 4th dimension, understood as an additional spatial dimension, known as temporal dimension, as in the theory of relativity, appeared in the literary works of Oscar Wilde, Fyodor Dostoevsky, Marcel Proust, H.G. Wells, and Joseph Conrad. Inspired some musical works by Alexander Scriabin, Edgar Varese, and George Antheil, and some plastic works by Pablo Picasso and Marcel Duchamp, influencing the development of Cubism. Even characters as diverse as the psychologist William James, the writer Gertrude Stein, or the revolutionary leader Vladimir Lenin himself were interested in the subject. The 4th dimension is a concept that can be found repeatedly within the different trends of the artistic avant-garde of the early 20th century. This term was incorporated into art, influencing various artists thanks to the concept of mathematicians, artists, philosophers, and writers who saw in the 4th dimension the possibility of relativizing the accuracy of science and human knowledge. Because beyond paranormal beliefs or the illusions of science fictions, the 4th dimension is a concept that led human beings to continue questioning their role in the universe, motivating them to see and understand the new universe that is being presented to them. Mysticism. Ascension, mysticism, Holy Grail quest, enlightenment, call it what you will. It can all be summed up in one word, according to Steve Biko. That word is love. That word is love. What would it take to sit there hour after hour, breathing love and sending it out into the world? Although the earth and all of its residents are in 4th density in terms of location, the majority of the population is still within 3rd density in terms of consciousness, according to Matthew. Fear is not the opposite of love, because love has no opposite. It's everything. It's the apparent absence of love. Those who feel an absence of love are always looking for it, and most often looking for it outside of themselves, where it can never be found, because it can only be found within, according to a Sitara message called Jesus Through Young. The choice or decision to seek love outside to self arises because of traumas experienced growing up, from human infancy to adulthood. No human being completely escapes the experience of not being good enough, because in his infancy and childhood, little ones see that others older are stronger and more skilled than they are, and are often shamed by others for their inadequacies. Even if the shaming is done with the best of intentions, that is, to show the little ones that they can and should work harder to become more capable, more competent, it almost always leads them to feel unloved, and if done repeatedly, unlovable. And this is very sorry. When that happens, the little ones feel that instead of feeling and experiencing the love of parents, siblings and caregivers, an empty and frightening space has opened up in them from which the love has gone. So they learn to seek the love and approval to others because of their inner sense of emptiness. Is intensely painful, and they experience a desperate need to feel it. So, you need to be reminded once again, that there is only love. Each of you is love. That is your divine and eternal nature. Commander Zafiel has made a point in his latest video, that has convinced me. First comes study, then comes knowledge of the truth, which leads to peace of mind, and finally love of brotherhood. But of course, for love and creativity to flourish, there must first be peace of mind within everyone's, because without peace, nothing can grow. Fear. According to Ron Giles, fear is an acronym that means false evidence that seems real. In society, we are taught to fear many things, and rightly so. Don't play in the street or you will get hit by a car. Don't play with electricity or you could get an electric shock or even die. Don't speed while driving. These things would be healthy fears. Healthy fears don't follow the acronym of false evidence that looks real because they are real things to avoid, because they can harm us. Excuse me. Here it is. On the other side of fear, the pendulum would be toxic fear. This type of fear, real or not, becomes debilitating beliefs that cripple one's overall ability to have fulfilling life. Toxic fear in this example is used to control the masses. Anything toxic is unhealthy and must be overcome with the truth of the situation. The main fear-based communications are found in fake news to condition the masses. Now here is this more evident than organized religions' use of mental weapons to control the masses. The fear of God is a precept that has become the norm and is preached as a way of judging one's dedicated beliefs about God. It's common for people to say that he is a good-fearing man, inferring that he is a good man. There is no evidence that fearing God is a good thing. The opposite is true. Loving God is a good thing. That is a healthy way to live. As the pendulum swings from healthy fear to toxic fear, a person finds that he or she becomes more attuned to the controlling narrative that stifles growth and freedom. This is a toxic fear-based life and can only be brought back to a healthy life by acquiring knowledge. An informed person is difficult to control with fear. A fear-based life we have been conditioned to believing by the swamp has left us as slaves in the wilderness. We may have given up our sovereignty for fear of not being able to create the better life we are entitled to. When will we go within to find the truths that we are seeking, that will lead us to our sovereign state? Raise your frequency. Live believing in good and eliminating doubts and fears as the basis of your life. This brings the miracles we are meant to do. And maybe we can even do greater things than Jesus. The challenge, he changed his followers. We can change the world. I desire all these good things to every one of you. Thanks a lot, dear friends.